I just ran a 16:26 5K and I'm currently training to run under 16 minutes. And to do that I use some key training principles that I've learned from a decade of working with elite athletes as a coach and physiotherapist. And in this video I will be giving you my best tips on how you can run your fastest ever 5K and provide you with some workouts you can start doing today that will make a difference. The 5K is mainly an aerobic event, meaning that you need to be very good at using oxygen to produce the energy that your muscles need to run fast. And the main thing that allows you to get good at this is to run a lot over time. You don't build a strong aerobic base with your lungs, heart and mitochondria in the running relevant muscles from a day or a week or even a month. It's a long-term project to gradually get good at this. To be able to do it, you need to have consistency in your training and a slow but gradual progression over time. And to be able to have this, you need to do a lot of your running at slow paces, around that zone 2 heart rate. Because this builds your aerobic base in a great way and it is pretty safe training that allows you to run a lot with less risk of injury compared to if all your runs were fast workouts. So in everything you do in training, you want to play it safe, to have as little risk as possible to cause yourself an injury that will break this important consistency. So controlled slow running should be your main building block in your training to build that strong aerobic base. But of course, to get the most out of yourself in a 5K, you also need to run fast sometimes in your training. And that is what the next point is all about. I will give you my 3 favorite workouts when it comes to training for a 5K that I build my training around when training for my recent and my upcoming 5K races. Your aerobic threshold when running is a huge component when it comes to how fast you're going to be able to run a 5K. And a great way to train this and push it to higher running paces is to run at or close to that threshold pace. And my favorite workout to do this at is running 6-minute intervals. This is actually a workout that the 5,000 meter Olympic champion Jakob Ingebrigtsen has used a lot. It seems like him and his brothers often run 5 times 6 minutes, but for most I would say that that's a bit tough. I think 4 repetitions of this is a sweet spot for most of us non-elite runners. But of course the most relevant training stimuli you can get when training for a 5K is to run at your 5K competition pace or just below it. And now I will do my favorite workout to do this, that is also a pretty safe way to run at the higher paces. And again, with all of these kind of workouts, we want to get the maximum adaptations while staying on the safe side, having as low risk in our training as possible. And as you can see, I will do this session on the treadmill. And the workout is 45 seconds on with a 15-second rest. I often do it for 20 repetitions, but for men I think 15 is enough, especially if you're not used to running at these a bit higher paces. And this workout you run at a pace that is close to your 5K personal best. And the reason why I do it on the treadmill and not outside is that when running such short interval with this short rest, you would spend a lot of time accelerating and decelerating if you run it outside on the road. And that will give you a lot of high forces on your knees and other structures. When doing this kind of workout on a treadmill, you can get a lot of time at that 5K race pace, running these short intervals without having to slow down all the time. And the cool thing with this workout, having such a short rest, is that your heart rate will not fully recover between each interval, so it will keep pretty high throughout the whole workout, giving you a great session for increasing your heart capacity to pump blood to your muscles. And it will be a great workout for improving that VO2 max. That also will be an important factor in you running your fastest ever 5K. As I said, running a 5K is mainly an aerobic distance, but when you get the maximum out of your body in a 5K, you are going to run well over your lactate threshold, meaning that your body uses both oxygen and the anaerobic system that produces lactic acid to give your muscles energy to run fast. And of course, this process is something you really need to train your body in as well. But this is more of that high-risk training, so this kind of workouts I only prescribe to my athletes closer to the race in that last specific preparation phase that starts about a month before the race. And a great way to once again be really specific to your 5K is to run 1 kilometer repeats at race pace times 5 with 2-minute rest in between. And try to run these at an as relevant terrain as you're going to race as possible. If you're going to run a track race, run them on a track. If you're running a road race, run them on a road. Is it a trail race, run it on the trail, and so on, to get yourself as specific training as possible. So doing this, you have basically ran the full 5K distance in close to that pace you want to run on race day. And it doesn't get more specific than that. And you get good at what you train on is a good principle. But once again, save these workouts to that last phase before the race, because running at those high paces is a higher risk and might mess up your consistency and lead to injuries. Before we move on to the last 3 points that are crucial to get you to run your absolute best in the 5K, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, that is Victory, that also has been an important part in my 5K training. Because I really like to do these kind of workouts in a softer, well-cushioned shoes, but still get that carbon racer feel. And then it is perfect to use this, the Victory Gold VK Performance insoles, that has a carbon base plate that you replace your original insole with. I really like this springy energy return effect you get in each stride from them, and I feel like the shock absorption effect you get from them saves my legs a bit during these kind of tougher workouts and gets me ready to run more of them sooner. This is the original insole for those shoes, and it doesn't give me any sort of energy return when bent, and this is the Victory ones. So thanks Victory for creating those great insoles for us runners and supporting my channel. When you run, you create these microscopic tears in your muscle tissues and all other structures that contributes to you running faster. And it is in the repair phase, when you're resting and refueling, that these structures develops, become stronger and more adapted to running. Meaning that you will be able to run at the same paces with less effort and basically run faster. And this basic training principle most of us are aware of, but what many neglect is that this makes rest and recovery such a big part and important part of your training. The better you can be at the rest and recovery, the more you can train without getting injured or overtrained, and the better you will get. So when you start to train more to run a faster 5K, it is so important to remember to eat enough good and healthy food and get enough sleep. Sleep has been a struggle for myself the last couple of years with 2 small kids at home, and I really felt how I can handle a lot less training in those periods where it is harder to get enough sleep. But if you want to train a lot and see progress, you really need to prioritize getting to bed early enough so your body gets a well-needed rest to be able to handle the training stimuli and get better from it. If you want to give yourself the absolute best possible chance to get a new personal best in your next 5K or any race, it is so important to have a good taper. A taper simply means a period before the race where you reduce your training volume to get your legs rested up and ready to race. But this can be pretty hard to do right, because if you reduce your training too much for a too long of a period, it will lead to detraining and you will lose some of that fitness. But several studies have shown a positive physiological, psychological and performance adaptation after a 6 to 7 day taper period for middle and long distance runners. And studies have shown that reducing the training volume to 40 to 70% of your normal running volume, but almost running as many times and keeping the high intensity sessions, just making them a bit shorter, is a good way to approach the taper. One study compared a 7-day high-intensity low-volume taper with a low-intensity moderate volume taper in middle-distance runners. And they found that the time they could hold their 1500-meter personal best on a treadmill went up a lot, by 22% for the runners that kept the intensity in their training but reduced the volume, which is an incredible boost. And the result in this test remained unchanged when the athletes just did lower training volume and also reduce the intensity in their training. So keeping your intensity in your training, basically meaning how fast you run your different workouts, but reducing your overall training volume seem to be the way to go to give yourself the absolute best chance to perform on race day. Most world records in everything from the 1500 meters to the marathon are set using a specific racing strategy, but still 90% of all runners don't apply the same simple tactic and end up not getting out their full potential on race day. And this simple pacing tactic is running your first half just a little bit slower than the second half. And although it sounds simple, it is actually really hard to do it right. I myself did it wrong for many years before I finally managed to apply it into a race. So first of all, you gotta as accurately as possible predict your race time, because how are you otherwise gonna know what your opening pace should be? And this can be a tricky thing. The best way to do it is if you have a pretty recent race on the same distance. Then if you know you have gotten in a bit better or worse shape since then, you can just take that time and adjust it slightly. And if you have run a recent race on a different distance, you can find pretty good race predictors online that can calculate what the same performance on a shorter or longer distance would be in terms of time. If you have none of those, you can try to test in training what you can run at. But bear in mind that you most probably will be able to run a lot faster on race day with a good taper, the adrenaline, crowds and everything that surrounds being in a race with a number bib. So for example, if I'm running a 5k rather than doing an all-out 5k in training, I think a good session to estimate what you can run on is running 5 1km repeats with a short rest of 1 minute, and if you run that session hard, your 1km splits should be pretty close to what you could do on a good race day. When you're standing on that start line of any race, there will be a lot of adrenaline pumping through your system, you will be eager to start, and your legs will be fresh and well rested. This, in combination with all the other people around you pushing hard, is what makes it so easy to get over-eager and start out a bit too fast. Or way too fast in many cases. I think you really gotta be patient and believe in your tactic from the start of the race to not start too hard. So this is where you gotta be mentally strong to hold on to your race tactic, and it will pay off. A good way of thinking is that when you see people maybe running past you or sprinting out of the start line, you can think to yourself that they are probably starting out way too hard, and if you find the perfect pace for you, you have a good chance at passing them later on in the race. And there are few things that are as fun as feeling strong at the end of a race and get to pass a lot of people. Good luck in your journey to running a fast 5k, and thanks again to Victor for creating these great insoles. If you want to check them out, there's a link in the description that will give you a 20% discount. Train smart, have fun, and I will see you in the next video.